A pop star humiliated her fan at a concert, but when the fan started singing, the entire audience was stunned. "Lucia, where are you going?" her mother asked, peeking into her daughter's room. "I told you, there's a Carla Molina concert at the Volcano tonight." "Whose concert?" her mother repeated with a displeased look. "A pop star's. I love her songs. You should be focusing on something more productive. It's not like you have time to waste going to a nightclub. What if someone sees you there? What parent would want their child to be taught English or French by a teacher who spends her nights wandering around clubs listening to worthless songs?" "Mom, Volcano is a nice club, and I'm not a nun, after all, to lock myself in a cell and never show my face." It was hard for Lucia to talk to her mother. She never understood her, only demanded that her daughter keep things in order and study well, not caring much about what was going on in her soul. Lucia had recently graduated from university and returned to her small port hometown. She took any job she could get, translations, tutoring. Lucia was determined to live separately from her mother, but that required money, at least enough to rent a halfway decent apartment where she could receive students. She longed for freedom, to live on her own terms. No, Lucia didn't crave noisy parties or dating, which she could afford only if she lived alone. She just wanted to live quietly, without her mother's reproaches, lectures, and even occasional spying. Her mother couldn't get used to the fact that her daughter was now 23 years old. Lucia had always lived under her mother's strict control. Perhaps that's why her father divorced her, unable to bear the pressure and constant criticism, when Lucia turned 7. "Your father also thought that the dive where he often had a few drinks with his buddies was a pretty decent place," Inés Torres grumbled. Lucia remained silent. She didn't want to argue. Her mother would never listen anyway. Her father simply couldn't live under such constraints any longer, so he escaped to the bar near their house. He hadn't forgotten Lucia. They still communicated and sometimes met up. He had long since started a new family, his wife Maria and their daughter Laura, 10 years younger than Lucia. Lucia was happy for her father. He had found someone who made him feel happy. Maria treated Lucia well when she occasionally visited them, without her mother's knowledge, of course, otherwise, she wouldn't have given her daughter a moment's peace, accusing her of betrayal. Laura, who had just turned 13, adored Lucia and called her the best sister in the world. Lucia loved her younger sister too, helping her with Spanish and English to improve her schoolwork, sometimes singing to her. Lucia loved to sing. In school, she attended a vocal club. The teachers praised her, even admired her, but her mother was against her pursuing a career in music. She said that if she felt like singing, she could do it in the shower, but her profession should be respectable. Lucia couldn't stand up to her domineering mother and, giving in, enrolled in the Faculty of Foreign Languages. Fortunately, she liked it too. She had a natural talent for languages, and her memory was phenomenal. Lucia slipped on her favorite sundress. "Have I gained weight again?" she muttered as she felt the fabric tighten around her waist. She picked up the small bouquet she had prepared earlier, slung a little purse over her shoulder, and left the house. Volcano was just a few stops away, so Lucia decided to walk there. The walk would do her good. She was always sitting at her desk and hardly moved, which had led to her gaining a few more pounds. Lucia had always been a bit plump. In school, she was very self-conscious about it and even tried to lose weight, but with little success. During her college years, Lucia lost a significant amount of weight. It made sense. She studied hard, ate little, and had to walk a lot. But since returning to her hometown, Lucia, much to her dismay, began gaining weight again, and very quickly. The club was packed, especially with young people. Everyone wanted to hear Carla Molina. The concert was about to start any minute. Lucia's heart was pounding as if she were the one who had to go on stage and sing in front of a large audience. She had dreamed of this once, but had tried to bury those dreams deep within her soul. Singing in the shower, as her mother had said, brought her no joy. She wanted something more. Finally, Carla Molina appeared on stage in a stunning outfit. She smiled at the audience, but for some reason, her eyes remained cold. There was no sparkle of happiness in them. It was strange. After all, she had risen from a poor family to fame. A producer had noticed her and invited her to collaborate when she was 16. Now she was in her 20s. Lucia wondered how someone so young, with such a meteoric rise, could have no happiness in her eyes, only what seemed like disappointment. Maybe it was just a stage persona? It was quite possible. The last song was already playing. The audience was crowding around to give the star bouquets, toys, and other gifts. Lucia also rushed to the stage to present her bouquet. She had chosen it with such love, wanting to bring some joy to the singer whose songs had made Lucia's heart flutter for several years. She handed Carla the flowers and smiled at her. "Maybe you should lose some weight before you start clubbing," Carla said, speaking directly into the microphone. "You're all sweaty." She accepted the bouquet and loudly said, "Whoever catches this will get as fat as the owner of this bouquet." With these words, Carla tossed the bouquet into the crowd. No one tried to catch it, the audience just erupted in laughter. The delicate chrysanthemums, tied with a dark blue ribbon, fell to the floor right under the feet of the jubilant fans. Lucia Torres's heart sank. She felt as if she had been drenched with a bucket of filth, or even worse. Tears welled up and began to sting her eyes. Lucia was about to make her way to the exit, but suddenly stopped. A man stepped onto the stage and announced, "And now a contest among the audience. We need 3 participants. You need to sing a song, any favorite song that resonates with you. No one will leave without a prize, and the winner will get the chance to record a song in a studio, which many will hear. Come on up." Lucia stood very close. Without a second thought, she climbed the steps and walked onto the small stage. 2 other young girls followed her. Lucia herself didn't fully understand what she was doing. Before, she would never have dared to do something like this, but now, for some reason, she felt an uncontrollable urge to be on that stage and sing for everyone. She was scheduled to perform third. Finally, it was her turn. Lucia took the microphone in her hand, which had gone cold from nerves, and felt as though wings were unfolding behind her. A warm and joyful feeling spread within her. She began to sing. She chose a song she had recently written herself. It intertwined 3 languages, English, French, and her native Spanish. Suddenly, the audience fell silent, and Lucia Torres's pure, strong voice filled the hall, touching the souls and hearts of the listeners. But it was Thomas Munoz, producer for Carla Molina, whose heart was touched the most. He hadn't heard such a voice in a long time, especially one that sang in 3 languages with such clarity, as if all 3 were this girl's native tongues. Lucia was unanimously awarded first place and given a silver microphone on a stand. She was about to leave, as there was nothing more for her to do there, but a man called out to her. He was impeccably dressed, and the scent of expensive cologne surrounded him. "Wait! Contest winner, please wait!" Lucia stopped and turned around. "Please, don't leave. You don't yet know when and where to come to record your song," he said, handing her a business card. "Call me tomorrow after 9 in the morning." "Thank you." Lucia smiled, slipping the card into her purse as she walked toward the exit. Lucia lay in bed, unable to sleep. She had never felt such satisfaction before. The crowd had listened to her with bated breath. It was clear, the silence in the hall was deeper than it had been even when Carla Molina had been on stage. The terrible humiliation that the star had subjected her to had almost been forgotten. She was going to record a song in a studio, working with professionals. How interesting and incredible it was. She decided not to tell her mother a word about it. She knew it would only provoke anger and dissatisfaction in her. She quietly rejoiced in solitude. Lucia had a feeling that something monumental was about to happen in her life, something that would turn everything upside down in the best way possible. Lucia took the cherished business card from under her pillow. The card read, Thomas Munoz, producer. Could it really be Carla Molina's producer? This was unbelievable. After today's events, Carla no longer commanded Lucia's respect as she once had, but it still flattered her that she would be working with Carla's producer. I wouldn't treat my audience and fans that way, she thought as she began to drift off to sleep. It was good that Lucia didn't have any lessons planned for the next day, and she had already submitted a large psychology article she had translated. She could devote time to recording the song in the studio, assuming they would let her do it. Unless, of course, this was all just a dream. But it wasn't a dream. At exactly noon, Lucia was already in the studio. Thomas Munoz himself had driven her there, and he immediately suggested she call him Thomas, not Senor Munoz as she had attempted. God! Where did you find this girl? The sound engineer asked Thomas. At Carla's concert last night. We need to hold on to Lucia with both hands. Carla's got nothing on her. I'm planning to offer her a chance to work with us, at least give it a try, Thomas replied. Lucia overheard this conversation. The men probably thought they were speaking quietly enough, but the girl had very keen hearing. A strong sense of excitement took hold of her. How wonderful it would be to touch art, to feel like a real star, even if only for a short time, even if just once. Excuse me, can I leave now? Lucia asked Thomas. Yes, my busy bee, that's more than enough for today. I'll call you. Are you ready to work with us? Work with you? Lucia's eyes sparkled. She had, of course, already realized that Thomas was pleased with her, but she hadn't really dared to hope for anything more. For now, it won't be entirely official. I still have a contract with Carla, and it has 3 more months before it ends. But this could turn into a serious business opportunity for you, he winked. I'm not sure. I do translations and teach English and French to children. So, you are ready to trade the career of a famous singer for that of a lowly tutor? Do you know what's in store for you, how much money this could bring you? Even before we sign a contract? No, not really, Lucia smiled. Exactly, my busy bee. I'll call you, and we'll decide what's next between us, a bright future or a bright present, the producer laughed heartily. See you later, Lucia said quietly. Bye, the sound engineer Marcus waved. Goodbye, busy bee, Thomas cheerfully said his farewell. Where have you been, Lucia? Her mother grumbled as soon as the girl crossed the threshold. You don't have any students today. I was at the mall, she lied. What were you doing there? Do you have money to spend? No, just looking at a few things. Why waste time? You should have helped me hang the curtains. Mom, I'll hang them. It usually takes about 10 minutes, you know that. Sometimes I have the right to leave the house for something other than work. Her mother cast her an unfriendly glance and headed to the kitchen. Lucia felt different, not the usual sadness and despair, but a certain secret known only to her. She would soon be singing and earning money from it, and she would even rent an apartment and live on her own. The girl smiled to herself and went to her room. Strangely enough, she didn't feel hungry at all, as if she had been nourished by singing and music. It was already around 7 in the evening. Lucia was reading a light novel. She couldn't handle anything more demanding, too many emotions lately. Her mother wasn't home that evening, she had gone to visit a friend. It was quiet and peaceful, as if nothing could disturb the silence. But suddenly Lucia's phone rang. She glanced at the screen, almost certain it was her mother, but it was Thomas Munoz. Yes? Lucia answered. Lou, my busy bee, we need to act fast. Carla, that wretch, got completely drunk, and we have an urgent performance in a nearby town. Help us out, darling. Lucia hesitated. What do I need to do? You won't believe it. Sing. Do you have about 15 songs you could perform? Well, I know all of Carla Molina's songs, for example. I used to love them. At least, I used to love them a lot. You're a gem, my darling. Come on, get ready, we don't have much time. Tomorrow, I'll personally drive you home, don't worry. But I haven't even told my mom. Lou, how old are you that you need to report every step to your mother? Lucia was silent. Come on, get ready. You'll earn in one evening more than enough, believe me, sweetie. Lucia didn't even have time to worry. She had to rush to the makeup artist and pick out a suitable outfit. And with Lucia's figure, that wasn't so easy. Then the moment came when the replacement took the stage. At first, the audience grumbled in displeasure, but then they suddenly fell silent when Lucia Torres began to sing. In her performance, the songs that Carla Molina used to sing sounded different. They flowed like from a sacred spring, and the audience wanted to drink and drink until the last drop. It seemed impossible to quench this thirst, the thirst for music and words woven together. The hall roared with excitement. Even Thomas didn't expect such a reaction. At that moment, he realized he had found his star, someone he was ready to invest all his energy into. It was a true treasure. She knew languages, sang purely and powerfully even without preparation. Incredible. They were headed for great success. Thomas had grown tired of dealing with the capricious Carla Molina. She had shown great promise when he discovered her online. Yes, she undoubtedly had immense talent, but she also had a host of bad habits. It wasn't just alcohol and cigarettes. Thomas suspected that Carla was using illegal substances. He couldn't say with absolute certainty, but it certainly seemed that way. Carla had repeatedly ruined concerts, causing significant problems. They were losing money and gaining a bad reputation. It was no coincidence that Thomas organized that contest among the audience. He hadn't had high hopes, but he decided to try his luck. And there she was, the rising star Lucia Torres, who asked to be represented under the pseudonym Lourdes, combining her last name and first name. Thomas also noticed originality and unconventional thinking in this. He needed to win her trust at all costs and pull her into the world of show business. "How are you?" Thomas asked on the way home. "It's something incredible. It's like they gathered all the joy that has ever existed in my life into a bottle and gave it to me to drink," Lucia said, leaning back in her seat. "Does that mean you're ready to work with me? Instead of Carla Molina." "What? Sing instead of her?" "Not exactly. Just be my protege. I think you'll have different songs. I sometimes write poetry too. Would you like to read them?" "You write poetry? And that song in 3 languages? Is that mine? But, unfortunately, I can't compose music. I hear it, but I don't know the notes. And I've never really done anything like that. Music is something that can be worked on. I'll find a good composer. I already have one, actually. We just need to get through the next 3 months until the contract ends. I don't want a scandal, and I certainly don't want to pay Carla a penalty. So we'll have to be patient, my little bee. I have one problem. It's my mom," Lucia sighed. "I dream of moving out, renting a place in. Well, now you have that opportunity. Want me to find you a decent apartment? I don't need something fancy, the simpler, the better. I must seem crazy to you, right?" Lucia smiled. "You know, a true artist should be a bit crazy," Thomas laughed. "So we'll find you a simple place, and you can live there happily ever after. Although, not for too long." "Why? Do you think I won't last long? Will I bore the audience quickly?" "That's not what I meant. Soon you'll be able to buy your own place. You saw how the crowd received you. With Carla, we were both new to the world of show business, but now I'm an experienced wolf. We'll get you up to speed quickly and fully." Lucia remained silent. A completely new world was opening up before her, one she had never known, full of promises and allure. It worked in Lucia's favor that the long-awaited summer vacation had taken all her students away. At any other time, she might have been upset, but not now. She was barely managing her translation work because she had to spend so much time in the recording studio and performing at concerts. Carla looked at Lucia with undisguised hatred. Thomas, who used to adore her and was willing to fulfill her every whim, was now strict. But he treated this fat girl like a delicate vase, afraid she might break. Carla drowned her sorrows in wine, which only increased the producer's disdain for her. Maybe she realized her days in show business were numbered. Lucia had the impression that this girl just didn't want to live. Her eyes were empty, as if there was no joy or love of life left in her heart. One evening, Lucia was wandering along the seashore. She had already moved into a cozy apartment. Naturally, her mother threw a terrible fit, but this time Lucia didn't give in and firmly withstood her attacks. Inés Torres had to accept and adjust to the situation. Thomas and Carla were also staying in Lucia's hometown for the time being. The producer himself was from this little port town where he had started his career. Thomas even joked that he should have been looking right under his nose instead of scouring the internet. Lucia walked, enjoying the fresh sea air, thinking about how unpredictable life could be. Not long ago, she was just a tutor, getting by with occasional translation jobs, and now people recognized her on the streets, even though she hadn't yet signed a contract with Thomas Munoz. Suddenly, Lucia noticed a woman's figure huddled on the sand. My God! It was Carla. Carla? Lucia leaned over the fading singer as Thomas and others at the studio called her. What are you doing here? Have you been drinking again? What's it to you? Thomas Munoz's favorite. Didn't know he preferred chubby girls. He didn't want to get close to me. What are you talking about? What intimacy? Thomas and I have a purely professional relationship. Sure. Leave me alone and go bask in your glory. Lucia noticed the tears in her big gray eyes. Carla, why do you drink? You're so beautiful and talented. Come to my place? I'll make you some tea. What? I call you a fatso, and you want to make me tea? You must be crazy. Come on. And you're absolutely right about the fat thing. I need to lose weight. They began to walk toward Lucia's house. She had to support Carla because she could barely stand, though she wasn't that drunk. It was as if she simply had no will to live anymore. Lucia settled Carla into a chair and placed a cup of fragrant mint tea in front of her. You know, I'm going to die soon, Carla suddenly said after taking a sip of the hot drink. What? Lucia stared at her rival. Don't talk about death. That's a sin. But it's true. I've had HIV for 2 years. What? Is that true? Unfortunately, yes. It's true. I'm not long for this world, Lou, not long at all. And there's no reason to live. Everything in my life has gone wrong, somehow stupidly. But you drive the audience crazy, you have so many fans. That's all nonsense, you know? Complete nonsense. I abandoned my daughter in that village where I'm from. I was 16 when she was born. My father would have killed me for that, so I gave her to a neighbor to raise. A kind, lonely woman agreed. I send them money sometimes. I thought I'd make it big, that my life would be different, but it's all still sad. And the child's father? Lucia asked quietly. Her father. Just a boy. He was 17. But he got into some trouble. I never really understood whether he disappeared or was arrested. I never even got to tell him I was pregnant. But you can get treatment, Carla. It's possible now. Why bother? She said without looking at Lucia. Why? For your daughter. You have a child. What can I give her? Teach her how to shake her butt on stage. Does she need that? This isn't about that. You're her mother. She needs you, understand? No, Lou, you're too naive and dreamy. She never needed me. What kind of mother am I? I was always craving something special, I guess. But nothing special ever happened. I'm tired, Lou. I just want to die, that's all. My song is over. Lucia made up a bed for Carla in the living room and then went to her own bedroom. In the morning, she walked over to the couch and glanced at Carla. She was sleeping. A strand of copper hair had fallen onto her face. Lucia gently brushed it away with her fingers. Suddenly, a wave of fear gripped her. Carla was cold as ice. Lucia placed her fingers on the girl's neck, trying to find a pulse. There was none. Oh God! Carla! Wake up! She began shaking the pale girl with bluish lips. Lucia called an ambulance and then phoned Thomas. Thomas arrived within minutes. Why is she at your place? What happened? He wiped sweat from his forehead. I met her yesterday by the shore. She was a bit drunk. I took her home, gave her some tea, and put her to bed, and in the morning. An overdose of something, obviously, said the doctor. We'll need to confirm. Did she take anything illegal? I don't know, it's quite possible, Thomas replied. Lucia just shrugged, unable to utter a word. The cemetery was quiet. But how could it be otherwise at a cemetery? Lucia stood by Carla Molina's fresh grave. A photograph showed a vibrant young woman with copper-red hair and green eyes. A beauty. A beauty with great talent, who ended her life so foolishly. Lucia could no longer hold back. Tears streamed down her face, and it seemed they would never stop. I'll find your little girl, Carla, she whispered. I promise, I'll do everything to ensure she has a good life. Lucia couldn't find peace. She wandered around the apartment, not knowing how to occupy her thoughts to stop thinking about Carla. Then she called Thomas. Thomas, do you know where Carla was from? She asked abruptly. Yes, of course. She told me. And do you know she has a daughter? What? A daughter? No, she never mentioned it. Why do you ask? She told me about it when I met her on the beach. I want to find her. Carla said the girl lives with a neighbor. I want to help that little girl, Thomas. Will you come with me to that village? All right, my bee, have it your way. Let's go tomorrow if you want. I don't have anything planned for the next couple of days. Yes, I want to. Let's go. With that, they said their goodbyes. They drove down a village street. It was deserted, except for a girl around 8 years old walking with a paper bag in her hand. She probably went to the store for bread. Sweetheart, do you know where Rosa Morales' house is? Thomas asked, slowing down near her. Grandma Rosa? Sure, I live there myself. My mom works in the city. Is your mom's name Carla? Lucia interjected. Yes, Carla Molina. She's a singer. We found you. Lucia's voice trembled. What's your name? Marcella, the little girl smiled. She had the same large gray eyes as her mother. Dona Rosa turned out to be a very pleasant woman with graying hair and radiant blue eyes. Thomas went into the house to talk about what had happened, while Lucia stayed with the girl on the lawn in front of the house. They sat in wicker chairs. Do you know my mom? Marcella asked. Yes, I knew your mom, sweetheart. And now you don't know her anymore? Why do you say you knew her? Where is she now? I only saw her once when I turned 5. She said she had a lot of work and couldn't take me with her, so I had to live with Grandma Rosa. Yes, Marcella. Your mom really did have a lot of work. For some reason, Lucia couldn't lie to this girl with serious eyes. But, unfortunately, your mom got sick and what? Did she die? The girl's voice trembled, but there were no tears. Yes, Marcella, she died. She loved you very much, she just didn't know how to tell you. I overheard when she came here and talked to Grandma. She said she didn't need me, that it would be better to put me in an orphanage, Marcella sniffled. I don't want to go to an orphanage. Then Grandma scolded her, said she had no heart and was a flirt. Grandma loves me. She doesn't want to send me to an orphanage. Don't worry, Marcella, you won't live in an orphanage. Do you want to come with me? We'll live together. I have a lot of work too, but I think we'll do well together. Do you have a dumb husband? Marcella suddenly asked. Why dumb? Grandma says men are all dumb. My dad too. Well, men are different. They're not all dumb. But I don't have a husband, Lucia assured her. But what about Grandma Rosa? Marcella asked sadly. She'll be all alone here. We'll visit her on weekends, Lucia smiled and took the girl's hand. At that moment, she realized she couldn't leave the little one here because she had promised Carla that she would take care of her daughter. Lucia understood that a child was a huge responsibility that no one in her circle, especially her mother, would understand, but that didn't matter now when the little hand, warm and tender, was so trustingly lying in her palm. It was similar to the time when, as a child, Lucia had found a small kitten. She brought it home, but her mother didn't allow her to keep it. Lucia cried, not knowing what to do. Then she met their neighbor, Senora Lopez, who agreed to take the kitten in. Since then, Lucia often visited the neighbor to see the kitten, which soon grew into a large, majestic cat named Simon. Lucia still remembered the day when her mother threw her out of the house and ordered her to get rid of the flea-ridden dirty thing. No one would stop her from making this little girl happy. Will you let me consider you my daughter? Lucia asked. Do I have to call you Mom? The girl asked in return. No, you don't have to. You can call me Lucia or Lou. That's what your mom called me. Are you sure you won't take me to an orphanage? Marcella asked anxiously. No way. I would never send such a wonderful girl to an orphanage. Do you like dolls? I don't know. I had one, but the boys broke it. How about we buy the prettiest doll today? Marcella was silent. She just looked at Lucia with her big gray eyes full of hope. A year passed. Lucia Torres, also known as Lourdes, had become a real pop star, beloved by the audience. Like many, the singer ran her blog, where she shared her creative and not-so-creative plans with her followers. Lucia didn't talk much about how Marcella came into her life. She adopted the girl and rightfully called herself her mother. Ines gradually accepted that her daughter now had a child, though not by blood. She even softened and often stayed with Marcella when Lucia was on tour or had other engagements. I want to start a center to help teenagers in difficult life situations, Lucia said to her producer after another concert. You're something else, Lou. I thought you'd want to travel or buy yourself a villa somewhere in Cyprus, and here you are. You're a unique girl. Why would I need a villa? I live by the sea. I've always dreamed of helping people or animals. By the way, one doesn't exclude the other. I'll definitely set up an animal shelter too. Will you help with the center? I know you have tons of connections. What's in it for me, my bee? Thomas winked playfully at her. I'll put your bust right in the lobby of the center, Tommy. Oh, come on. I don't believe it. You'll see. Lucia patted him on the shoulder. Rally your fans, sweetheart. You have all the resources for that. Your fans will definitely respond. That's how we'll find sponsors. I'll help as much as I can. Thank you, Thomas. You're a true friend. Lucia gave him a peck on the cheek. Mom, I'm going out for a walk. Marcella shouted. I'll walk with you, my little bird. Lucia ran down the stairs and headed to the front door. The little girl darted outside, and Lucia followed her. She was planning to water the flowers in the small garden bed near the house. Be careful, Lucia said gently, kissing her daughter on the top of her head. Okay, Mom, the girl called back as she ran towards her friends, who were waiting for her on the other side of the street. Lucia had just reached for the watering can when a brand new Jeep pulled up in front of her house. A young man jumped out of the car. Lucia had the feeling that she had met him before, but she couldn't remember where or when. Hello, he greeted. Good afternoon. Lucia responded. It can't be. You're Lourdes. My younger sister adores your songs. I never would have thought you lived here, in this small port town, instead of the capital. It's beautiful here, but this is my hometown, and I have no desire to leave, Lucia replied. Can you tell me why that billboard is in front of your house? The young man gestured towards a large poster with Carla's portrait on it. Lucia had planned to name her future center after Carla. I'm planning to open a center to help teenagers in difficult life situations. And this girl, is that Carla? Carla Perez? Yes, her real surname was Perez. I want to name the center in her honor. My God, so many years. We parted ways when I had just turned 17. I got into some trouble back then, and our paths diverged. My name is Eloy Suarez. Lucia felt a chill in her head. It was him that Carla had talked about. She had called him a reckless idiot who got himself into some kind of mess. But this man didn't seem like someone with problems. On the contrary, he looked successful and quite well off. Carla passed away a little over a year ago, Lucia sighed. Didn't you know anything about her? She was quite a popular singer. I'm far removed from the world of show business, Eloy said, scratching his chin. Carla was my first love, if not my only one. I've never married, just threw myself into work. Now I have my own business, but my personal life is still quiet. And your daughter is adorable, Eloy smiled. Yes, my Marcella is growing into a beauty, that's true. She takes after her real mother. What? She's not your biological daughter? She's Carla's daughter, Lucia replied simply. And she might be your daughter too. Eloy stared at her as if she had just turned into a pink unicorn, speechless. Lucia cursed herself for always blurting out the truth to everyone's face. She couldn't keep silent or lie. Suddenly, she felt scared. What if this man tried to take Marcella away from her? Proved that he was her biological father and took her with him? No, she couldn't let that happen. The girl was attached to her and had finally found a mother, and Lucia couldn't imagine life without this mischievous little girl. I'm not sure, just speculating. But don't take it to heart. I was just speaking emotionally. Wait, you're saying that Carla Perez's daughter might also be mine? Carla and I were only together once, and then I had to flee the village. There was a bad situation, as I mentioned. I suppose Carla might have gotten pregnant. How old is the girl? 9, Lucia replied. She was nervous and eager to end this conversation and never see this man again. She could very well be my daughter, Eloy said thoughtfully. You're looking for sponsors to open the center, right? Yes, but I'm willing to cover a significant portion of the costs for this noble cause. I have a wide network of contacts, mostly business people. I'm buying a local hotel, planning to make it part of my chain. Eloy, forgive me for asking this. If Marcella turns out to be your daughter, you won't take her away from me, will you? She's just now starting to understand what it means to be a daughter, to have a mother, even if it's an adoptive one. I love her very much. Of course not. You don't need to worry about that. I just want to be part of her life too. Can you imagine? I've been living all these years, not knowing that I have a child in this world, my own flesh and blood. It was quiet at the cemetery. But how else could it be? 2 people stood by Carla Molina's grave. There were always fresh flowers there. Her fans hadn't forgotten her and continued to sing the songs she had performed for them from stages across the country. It's such a shame that Carla couldn't find the strength to fight for her life, Lucia said quietly. Yes, it's a great pity, Eloy replied, wrapping his arm around his wife's shoulders. You know, maybe all of this happened for a reason. I mean, our meeting. If I hadn't seen Carla's portrait that day, I wouldn't have stopped by your house, and we wouldn't have started talking. I'm so happy that it happened. Lucia remained silent, discreetly wiping away her tears. Are you happy, Lou? Of course, I'm happy, Eloy. You know, I felt so sorry for Carla when I met her on the beach. She hated me because I essentially took her place. She used to call me a fatso. You? But you're so slim. Even when you were pregnant with Arlino, you hardly gained any weight. Yes, I used to be quite plump. You just didn't see me like that, Lucia smiled through her tears. Music helped me lose weight. They stood there for a while longer and then headed to the car. They still had new residents to welcome today. The Carla Perez Molina Center for Assistance was thriving. Teenagers were coming from many nearby towns. The once obscure port town was becoming well known. Finally, you're home, Marcella greeted her parents on the porch. Next to her was a stroller with her 3-year-old brother, Lino, sleeping inside. Lino was fussy all day. Grandma Ines and I couldn't think of anything to keep him entertained. Where's Grandma now? Lucia asked. She's baking her famous pie and sent me to watch over Lino. But since you're home now, I'm off, the girl said as she started toward her best friend Monica's house. But then she suddenly stopped and turned back. Changed your mind? Eloy asked as he took shopping bags out of the trunk. Only after tea. I know you two won't leave me a single crumb. Her parents burst out laughing. Did you see those girls who arrived today? Lucia asked with concern. Yes, they seem pretty traumatized. But it's nothing we haven't dealt with before. Lorena will do a great job with them. She's an experienced psychologist and knows how to handle childhood trauma. Do you have another recording session tomorrow? Yes, Tommy has another grand idea. I hope it doesn't involve stealing my wife away. Eloy joked. I don't think so. I recently saw him with an interesting brunette in a bright sundress. It seems our die-hard bachelor might soon give up his status. What makes you think that? According to your stories, he's had about 100 of these bright ladies. He was looking at her differently, with tenderness, I'd say. I hope she can win his heart, or else he might end up alone forever. The air was filled with the smell of a pie with cinnamon and honey. Inez baked it masterfully. Rosa called, she said, greeting her family. Did something happen? Lucia asked worriedly. Yes, she misses us. Oh, really? We haven't visited Rosa in so long. I've suggested many times that she move in with us, Lucia said, laying her sleeping little son on the living room couch. Mom, you should at least talk to her. I've suggested it too, but she won't budge. She can't bear to leave her little house. She's afraid of losing her roots, Eloy sighed. I'll visit her tomorrow. Maybe I can convince her. Dad, can I come with you? Marcella exclaimed. Can I? Of course, you can, sweetheart, her father said, patting her on the head. And now I want some of your pie, Inez. The biggest piece for me. Eloy moved towards the kitchen, rubbing his hands in anticipation. They drank tea around the round kitchen table. Finally, they could relax and enjoy the delicious tea and the simply divine pie. On the windowsill stood a speaker, from which a lyrical song about the value of friendship and love played. It was a song recently written by the talented poet Lucia Torres and performed by the equally talented singer Lourdes. Grandma, can you turn it up, please? Marcella asked. I just love this song. Mom and I wrote it together, right, Mom? She smiled at Lucia. Yes, exactly. If it weren't for you, my little bird, this song would never have come to life. I want pie, came a voice from the living room. And a few moments later, little Lino was tugging at Inez's dress. Well, the whole family is here, she smiled and began cutting the fragrant pie. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed the story, please support the video by liking it and leaving a comment. Thank you very much.